The Hometown Secrets of country hunk Billy Ray Cyrus on hard copy.
From the NBC Tower, this is WMAQ-TV Chicago. And now, Carol Marin, Ron Majors, Jim Tilmon with weather, and Mark Giangreco with sports. The Channel 5 News at 10.
Jordan stripped by Drexler. 3-on-2. Kersey. Porter gave it back. Drexler.
I'm Ron Majors, live in Portland, where it was not to be for the Chicago Bulls tonight. 93-88 is the final score as the Portland Trailblazers get the win. It was late in the game, late in the fourth quarter. The Portland Trailblazers had never led when Michael Jordan was stripped of the ball by Clyde Drexler. Drexler all the way to the other end for a layup. Blazers took the lead. They were never headed again after that. Mark Giangreco is inside Memorial Coliseum. Mark?
Well, Ron, as the commercial says, I do love this game, but you had to hate tonight's performance. The Bulls jump out on a 10-0 run. The Blazers couldn't even draw iron. They were shooting themselves in the foot again, and the Bulls continued to keep them at arm's length every time the Blazers made a rush on their home court. And then with 3:34 left is when Clyde got the strip, the layup, and boom, that was it. The Bulls looked like the Blazers in previous performances. They got out of their game, gave it away. As Danny Ainge said earlier in the series, you cannot judge momentum in a championship. And I'll tell you, he was so right. It is a brand new series now tied at 2-2. We'll be jumping out to the podium and into the locker room throughout this broadcast. Right now, let's go back to the NBC Tower and John Kelley. John?
John Kelley actually is here, but so is Joan Esposito, Jim Tilmon, and myself, and we're going to go directly to highlights. John.
Okay, well, the Bulls in the first quarter look like they're going to blow this one out. The Blazers showing all kinds of character, and they come back and just grab the victory. After streaking early, the Bulls never able to finish the job as Portland jumps right back into the series. Instead of sitting just one game from a repeat, Chicago now facing a Blazers team with momentum, and the series tied at 2-2. Here's what it looked like from Portland. Jordan, he gets the strip here. Pippen takes it the other way. He'll downshift a bit, and he gets the finger roll. Chicago up by 11. Later, Bill Cartwright adding to the lead. Mr. Bill gets the turnaround J to fall. Cartwright with 9 points in the first half. With time running out in the first quarter, they're off and running again. Pippen to BJ, ahead to Michael, who reels this one in. He gets the jam and takes a moment to hang around. But the Blazers wake up in the second. Clyde Drexler drives, shoots. Both he and the ball go down. Bulls up by just 3 at halftime. Third quarter, Drexler gliding again, but no. The Bulls turn rebound into transition out to Scotty, who soars in to finish it. Then in the fourth, Jerome Kersey clobbers Scotty Williams. He's called for the flagrant foul. Williams sinks all 3 free throws, and with that, Portland begins to self-destruct a bit. Watch this. Kersey taking out his frustrations on teammate Danny Ainge, but the Blazers do regroup. Drexler knocks it away from Jordan on this play. Clyde hustles on down. He'll get it back and finishes. Portland up by 1, its first lead of the game. And moments later, the Blazers go up by 3. Drexler drives and dishes to Kersey. 85-82 Portland. And down the stretch, the Bulls unable to convert. MJ pops, but he misses. Later, John Paxson, he drives, and he scores. This will cut it down to 3, but the Bulls fall asleep after the bucket. The touchdown pass goes to Porter as Portland rallies, coming back to take it. 93-88, a tough loss for the Bulls and a momentum builder for the Blazers. Game 5 will be on Friday. Should be a wild one.
Back in Portland, and we'll go back right now to Portland.
And Ron Majors. Ron?
Carol, you know, if you go back to the early part of this game, don't you have to imagine that the scariest moment of the night for the Blazers came very early? That was when Michael Jordan stepped right up, and the second basket of the night was a Jordan three-pointer. It had to be memories for the Blazers of that night when Jordan rained three-pointers down on them, but tonight it was not to be. Another interesting moment of the night was what we have called the best block. It's the end of the first half. Time running out. Buck Williams gets free under the hoop. It looks like he'll score an easy one. Suddenly there's Horace Grant to knock it away. Clyde Drexler is obviously irritated with what has happened, and he shows his disgust near the end of the half. It was at that point that you had to believe those 2 points were going to loom very important in this game. As it turned out, it was much more than a 2-point win for Portland. Portland, by the end of the game, was handling the Bulls pretty easily. And we'll have more of the highlights and more of the post-game interviews live from the podium inside as we continue in just a little bit. Carol, Joan?
All right, thank you, Ron. Still ahead on the Channel 5 News, double the fun for fans of the Bulls and the Sox.
Plus, of course, more from Portland.
The Bulls Locker Room Special is brought to you in part by United Airlines and by Honda.
So what do? Weeks ago, you got great tickets to the Sox game, but it turns out the tickets are for tonight, and you're crazy about the Bulls, too. Marianne Ahern has the story.
They're working the ticket gate at Comiskey Park, but it's the Bulls they're tuned into.
Big Sox fan, big Bulls fan.
The radio keeps a security guard in touch as well. That is, with the Bulls score.
I'm a Sox fan, but a Bulls fan right now while the playoffs are going on.
Yes, those were the Bulls fans we found even before we got here inside the stadium. So does that make this a doubleheader?
The Bulls are up by 3, everybody. Everything's okay.
In the skyboxes, fans headed both ways. The TV's beaming in the Bulls game with the White Sox as background noise.
We watched the first 3 innings. Now we're watching the Bulls game.
No. I do not like the Sox. I'm here to root against the Sox and root for the Bulls.
With all the action, some were having a hard time concentrating on both events.
Okay, the Bulls are up by 6. Okay, and what are the Sox doing? 3 hits apiece?
Sox is 0. Right. For those die-hard sports fans, this is heaven.
That's all we need is the Bears now. I don't know what I'd do. Maybe be watching the TV, too.
Marianne Ahern, Channel 5 News.
Let's now go back to Mark in Portland for a look at what may have been the key in tonight's game. Mark?
Well, Carol, it certainly was the key down the stretch. With me, Dick Versace. Dixie, when was the last time Michael scored a basket down the stretch?
Well, you know, it was absolutely amazing. You know, we looked at the point in time when he had 32 points, and there was over 11 minutes left in the game. And I said, he's headed for a 50-point night. He never scored again.
And the rest of the guys were throwing up bricks.
Yeah, it was amazing. Scottie Pippen, I think the foul trouble that he got in was a factor. He had to sit quite a bit. You know, Phil looked like he was a magician. He pulls Haji off the bench and he gets a 3 out of him. Pax hits a 3 down the stretch. They get to the point where they have the potential 6-point play with the flagrant. It was flagrant, yeah. Believe me, flagrant foul. And Mike, you know, went for the juggler by taking the 3 there. That would have made it 6. It didn't hit it, so it was only 3. Portland survived that. Great defense got them back in the game. Drexler really stepped it up. I mean, the guy had a schizophrenic game. I thought maybe they were going to have to bring in a mystic from the East or something to try to, you know, solve his problems.
Well, I'll tell you, Dixie, the reporters are still jammed outside. Phil Jackson has the door locked and closed. I can only imagine what he is saying right now. And the Blazers are milking this victory. Terry Porter's sitting out on a director's chair in the middle of the floor being interviewed by local radio. Half the fans are still here cheering his every word. Let's jump outside to Ron Majors now. Ron?
Mark and Dick, there were several points in the game when I thought Danny Ainge came in and really gave the Portland Trailblazers a lift, and we gave him our best hustle award for tonight. There was a point when Ainge came in, grabbed a loose ball, saved it from going out of bounds, crashed into an NBC cameraman, managed to get the ball back out to Clyde. Couple of passes later, the Blazers had 2 more points, and it really was a point where they were picked up by Danny Ainge. Also tonight, you may notice that NBC had another look-alike winner in the Cliff Robinson, the Uncle Cliffy look-alike contest. Cliffy with that familiar red sweatband around his head. And then, of course, here's the winner of the Uncle Cliffy look-alike contest. Quite a Portland fan, and plenty of reason to be cheering tonight. We'll have more news from Chicago and more from the game site here in Portland when we continue in a moment.
And Jordan able to penetrate, sets up Grant. Bulls keeps.
In Chicago tonight, a bust of alleged illegal gambling involving the Bulls game. Police say they confiscated betting slips, telephones, and gambling paraphernalia at Caputo's restaurant on the south side. There was reportedly $2,700 in cash and $1 million worth of wagers. 3 people have been charged, including an unidentified Chicago police officer. The officer and 40-year-old Raymond Polino are charged with syndicated gambling. 37-year-old Paul Miklovacek of Alsip is also charged with keeping a gambling house.
Gang warfare has claimed yet another innocent bystander. 37-year-old Deborah Jackson was fatally shot when she was caught in crossfire tonight at the Rockwell Gardens project on the west side. Jackson, who was visiting her daughter in the housing complex, was apparently carrying her 1-year-old grandchild when the gunfire erupted. She was shot once in the left upper back. Bystanders rescued the baby unharmed. Jackson was pronounced dead at Cook County Hospital. Police are searching for suspects. And on the southwest side, another victim of a stray bullet. A young woman was caught in the crossfire of two rival gangs outside this Kmart store parking lot tonight. She died in Mount Sinai Hospital a short time after being admitted in critical condition.
It took the jury only 1 hour and 15 minutes to return with a death sentence for convicted murderer Edward Moore. Moore was convicted yesterday of the rape slaying of Judith Zeman of Morris, Illinois last July. Execution by lethal injection has been set for August 21st. The victim's family expressed relief over the end of an ordeal.
Just want to thank the officials of Grundy County, Dave Neal and his staff, the jury, Judge Adcock, and we're glad this part of it is over.
He took it the way he's taken most of the things, very stoic. Strange, he's philosophical. I mean, he's anxious for an appeal.
Under Illinois law, a death penalty is automatically appealed. There is new information tonight on the police officer involved in the fatal shooting of 12-year-old Joey Schlopek. Channel 5 News has learned that Officer David Jarmusz in the pink shirt has used his weapon before in a similar circumstance. 8 years ago, Jarmusz shot and wounded 40-year-old Willie Gant after Gant reportedly pointed a gun at him. No charges were filed in the case.
We still have the drought-like conditions, but it still was a pleasant day, sort of, in Chicago. Jim Tilmon joins us.
It was a very pleasant day, actually. We had nice warm temperatures, very pleasant temperatures, and at the same time, the humidity was quite low, so you have to call that a good day in many ways. It would be very nice to get some rain in this town, however. Warm and dry is what we have to talk about for the next few days. 79 degrees, the high temperature today, the low 49. The average high would have been 78, and the average low 56. The humidity right now, way down at 36%. That's pretty dry at this time of night. Barometer 30.08 is fallen just a little bit. Northeast winds at 7 miles an hour. The wind's generally been off the lake. The lake water temperature is 60 degrees. That gives us 62 degrees at O'Hare, 65 degrees at the lakefront, and 62 degrees at Gary. But it's still at 70 degrees at Aurora. And you can see that the band of 60-degree temperatures, for the most part, covers all of Illinois, Indiana, most of Michigan, and Wisconsin. Very warm night all across the nation tonight, as you see warm temperatures everywhere. And you see a lot of rain, too. Some of that's some thunderstorms that are rumbling across Missouri and across Oklahoma and moving actually across Missouri into the state of Illinois. But even though it keeps getting close, it just doesn't get close enough to actually get any rain on the ground for us. There have been very few residents in our area that have seen any rain, any appreciable rain, in quite some time. We're extremely dry. Tomorrow's highs bring us into the 80s. Well into the 80s. Well, I say well into the 80s, 82 to 84 degrees at least. Mostly sunny skies, near 60 degrees for tomorrow morning. It won't be a very cold night at all. It'll be a pretty nice night in many ways. Tomorrow morning will be very comfortable. Mostly sunny skies and lower 80s. Cooler than that, lakeside around 70 degrees. It'll be very nice just about every place because we still don't see any great humidity problem. And sunshine will be with us for 5 days. This would be a marvelous forecast to give if it were not for the fact that we're so dry that we need the rain so desperately. Tip for tomorrow, just dress for a warm day, and here we go again. Let's see how long it'll be before we can say the word rain.
Thanks very much, Jim. Let's go back to Portland.
Take a look at what Ron Majors is up to. Ron?
Carol, we can take a quick look at what we have chosen to call the fooled you defensive play of the night. It was Scottie Pippen, Clyde Drexler on the drive. Scottie, instead of stepping up and bumping him, as Clyde was expecting, stepped aside, let him by. Clyde crashes, Scottie looks good, and it looked like the Bulls were in control at that moment, but it just was not to be. By the way, Chicago Stadium fans, you are the winners. We rang up the fanometer for the introductions of the Portland Trailblazers tonight inside the Memorial Coliseum. They failed to pin the peg. The noise at Chicago Stadium, at least for the introductions, was the way we compared it, was much noisier for the last game at the stadium, although I must also tell you that by the end of the game tonight, the Portland Trailblazers fans were doing just fine. Thank you. Carol and Joan?
All right, Ron, thanks. Ahead on our Healthwatch report, another warning about secondhand smoke.
And Mark Giangreco will have the latest from the locker room.
Joan with the save and the stop.
The Bulls Locker Room Special has been brought to you in part by your local Ford dealer and by Miller Brewing.
Rather than doing Healthwatch right this minute, let's go back out to Portland. We've been told that Coach Phil Jackson is coming to the podium. So let's go back out there live and hear what he has to say.
Leading the whole game and having the momentum to go into that fourth quarter. We just didn't execute down the stretch well. Portland played very good defense against us, and we came up with a cold hand. I think that, it tells something about this series, that this series is going to go on here. It's going to go on back to Chicago, and they've extended it. And we definitely going to have to come back on Friday and play with more determination. I think that the defenses are playing very, very well, and aggression is tremendous out there, intensity level, as it should be. I thought that this game had a few turning points in it, missed free throws for us, second opportunities for them in the paint, and gave them an opportunity to get back into this game from that.
What happened in the last 5 minutes? Get tired,
I think that our execution was poor down the stretch. I think we had a pretty good opportunities. We had some good shots in that period. I thought Michael had 2 point-blank shots that rolled in and out. Robinson made a great block on Horace Grant. I thought that was a great defensive play that took a momentum away from us at that time. And Pippen missed a couple free throws that also took the lead away from us and gave them an opportunity. And the second opportunity they got off 2 missed free throws gave them that 1-point edge that they eventually went up by a point later on in the next opportunity down the floor. Those are little turning points, I thought, that put the momentum in their end of the corner.
Well, a dejected Phil Jackson talking about a disappointing loss tonight. We'll go back out to Portland as things happen, but now let's get back to that Healthwatch story we talked about a minute ago. 3 major health organizations are launching a new attack on secondhand tobacco smoke in the home, office, and public places. The American Heart Association, Lung Association, and Cancer Society say secondhand smoke should be treated as an environmental toxin.
Just evidence at hand and forthcoming shows that environmental tobacco smoke causes disease and death. The tragedy in this is that persons exposed to environmental smoke have no choice in the matter.
The group is dismissing Tobacco Institute claims that there is no clear evidence linking secondhand smoke and health problems.
Well, as we've seen all evening tonight, a dispiriting night for the Chicago Bulls. John Kelley is here. We've already had the highlights. It's time to go on and look a little more closely at this game.
Yeah, once again, the Bulls playing that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde role. And tonight down the stretch, blew up and fell apart. Early on, it looked easy. Then it got scary. And finally for the Bulls, this one got away. Portland in desperate need of a victory, and that's exactly what they get. But this one, all Chicago early on. First quarter, Scotty with a nice fake and drive. Bulls open up on a 10-0 run. Michael also doing his thing, floating and sticking the jumper. Bulls by 6. Later, Clyde Drexler slips behind everyone and lays in the alley-oop. 48-45 Bulls at the break. But Chicago could not put it out of reach. The Blazers charge back. Drexler starts the transition with a steal and gets the payoff at the other end. Portland in front for the first time, leading by 1 in the fourth quarter. The monumental comeback breaks the Bulls. Blazers win it 93-88. Mark Giangreco was there from start to finish. We go live to Portland for the report. Mark?
All right, John. Well, as you might expect, Phil Jackson kept the locker room door closed for quite a while. Little lecture to the players, and then when that door opened, most of the players showered quickly and vamoosed and got in that bus. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to think about it. But before they got out of there, they did have a few interesting things to say.
I thought we kind of gave it away to the extent that we had the game under control. They never led until the fourth quarter, and it was our game for the taking, and we just couldn't get the last 6 minutes done.
Well, now you got to go out and win another one. I mean, the series is far from over, so it's the best 2 out of 3 now, and we worry about Friday night. We played well enough to win this game, but we just we didn't execute offensively down the stretch. They seemed to end up at the foul line the whole time in the fourth quarter.
They are tied 2-2. It is a brand new series. Look at it this way, John. They can clinch it at the stadium now. And I'll tell you, they haven't had a celebration in Chicago since the White Sox won the division in 1983. So that's thinking on the positive side. Let's go to Michael Jordan now, who's just stepped up to the podium.
Beat us at our game? Yeah, I felt they did play solid defense down the stretch. You have to give them credit. You know, they held together. They maintained their poise. We kind of got a little flustered, turned the ball over more than necessary down the stretch. And on the road, you got to finish the game a lot stronger. You got to take care of the basketballs. You got to take good shots. You know, we failed to do that down the stretch. Although we played a good 42 minutes, the last 6 minutes we really didn't execute properly. I was very heated. I wasn't heated. More or less, I was just trying to explain the situation. Maybe my expressions will seem to be a little heated, but I was just more or less trying to motivate, trying to keep their minds into the game, trying to focus in on what we had to do to win this game. And but it wasn't like yelling and bawling them out. You know, basically, I was just trying to keep their heads straight and focus in on what we were trying to do. And this game meant a lot in the sense that, we could have put them in a deeper hole.
Michael, this team has never been in this situation before in the finals. Last year you went through LA after losing the first game, but now it comes down to a 3-game series. Does this team have enough to win 2 games?
Do we have a choice? I mean, if we want it bad enough, you're going to have to play a lot better and finish off what we actually have started. So, we really got another opportunity to win another game here and go back to Chicago, 3-2. No one said it was going to be easy. Last year we had total control after the 4th game, and things were a little easier. But when you're trying to do something twice, it's not going to be quite as easy. But as long as you maintain that focus and the determination to achieve that ultimate goal, who cares how many games it takes? And that's the important emphasis right now, is that, okay, we're 2-2 now. It's a 3-game series. Do we still want it bad enough? Do we still want to win? And we know we got 1 game here, 2 games in Chicago, but that's not something to rely upon. You got to come out and play hard for the next 3 games.
Michael, you scored last 10 minutes.
Okay, Michael Jordan commenting on a very tough loss to the Blazers, one that simply got away. Moving to hockey, instead of interviewing out in Los Angeles, suddenly Daryl Sutter looks to be the man on ice in Chicago. At a press conference tomorrow, the team expected to make Sutter their new head coach, with Mike Keenan stepping aside to concentrate on his GM duties. Action from the ballparks tonight. We start at Comiskey Sox hosting California, and the home team pulls a comeback. Bottom of the 9th, down by 1. Frank Thomas singles. Mike Huff motors in on the play. That ties it, and it goes to extra innings. And right now in the 12th inning, it remains tied at 2-all. Sammy Sosa carrying a big stick down in St. Louis tonight. He cranks a pair of solo homers out of Busch Stadium. Sosa's power helps the Cubs come back to win this one, or actually take this one 4-2. And the Bulls couldn't get it done.
All right, John, thanks very much. We'll be back in just a minute.
Let's go back out to Ron in Portland.
Carol, okay, Portland isn't L.A. like last year, but Portland has big-time celebrities. Who is the biggest celebrity at the basketball game? Not Nicholson. He's nothing. Look at this guy. Take a close look. And that's the young Elvis in the old outfit. That's like a double Elvis thing. And the biggest thrill of the night, I must tell you, 5-year-old Brian Jones sang the national anthem. He sang for the 7th game, the Bulls and the Knicks in Chicago Stadium. I don't think singing the anthem was the biggest thrill of the night. The biggest thrill of the night for Brian was meeting Michael Jordan. There is a very, very happy young man. And by the way, he told us his favorite team is the Chicago Bulls. So what a great night it was for him. Not a great night for the Bulls, Carol, but we'll try again Friday.
That's right. They need some inspiration, and maybe they'll get it. Here's what's next. The action stays in Portland for Game 5, tip-off 8 p.m. on Friday. We hope that you'll join us then. We hope you'll be back tomorrow. Good night.
Good night.
Thursday on Today, America, it's your chance to ask Ross Perot. An unprecedented 1-hour opportunity to call in and talk live with Ross Perot, beginning at 7 a.m. Eastern, Thursday on Today.
The hometown secrets of country hunk Billy Ray Cyrus on hard copy.